I think Stephen Collins was making April feel special from other kids.
Hollywood Demon, Stephen Collins Part 2. And last I left you, we were speaking about a girl named April who was in LA staying with her aunt in the summer of 1983 when she was 13 years old. Stephen Collins was 35.
He came by in a bathrobe and sat down by me and was talking about how pretty my feet were, of all things. I was definitely not comfortable.
This was another of many incidents that had happened over the summer that April speaks about. But one thing she does say that I did want to draw a little attention to was she had relegated herself to a corner. She was wearing just a regular bathing suit. She looked like a kid. It wasn't anything revealing. And there's this undertone in that I just want to remind everyone that it's never about what you were wearing. It's about people with bad intentions who seek things out. It's not your fault ever.
I'm like doing the wince thing because I'm not looking for that. I don't need that. I don't need to be built up. I never have liked that. Then he said to me, I need to learn to take a compliment.
We spoke about this a little bit in the video yesterday, but the process that he was engaging in, TikTok doesn't like that word, was GROOMING. Also, the confidence with which he was doing this and how he went about it does not make me think first time someone has done this. Now, that one I do have to say allegedly, because obviously. Then another familiar face, if you remember when we covered the Girls Gone Wild documentary, Sauchi Cole popped up to give a little perspective as well.
Stephen gives her an autograph first, so he gives her some attention, and then he exposes himself to her. And then a third time, he comes to her again and offers her a different kind of attention. This one feels a little more sexual, more loaded. He's talking about her feet, which is a particular body part that sort of suggests I'm paying close attention to you.
The fourth and final incident comes when Stephen decides to use his memorabilia, his show, all of that stuff, because he knows that April likes that stuff, as a lure to invite her back to his apartment.
The memorabilia from the show and some pictures and stuff setting up on the top of this credenza. And I'm standing there and I'm looking at it. And he goes, do you mind if I go get more comfortable? So I'm looking at this stuff. And he comes walking back from the bedroom completely nude.
He comes out, he starts doing household tasks, and is acting like this is completely normal. Now, Pinsky came in and tried to offer more of a story of maybe she doesn't remember this, maybe she doesn't remember that, but let's just let people tell their stories, okay, my dude? Thank you. But luckily, her aunt came home right at that moment and she saw her and bolted. This was the final incident before she went home. She did not see Stephen Collins again until years later within the course of her employment. And he comes up to her and gives her a total BS apology because he sees who it is and knows what's up. But even the person that he chose is calculated. Why?
With Stephen Collins. A 13-year-old girl from the Midwest is effectively code for I will never have to deal with this again. She will not be somebody that I have to run into. She won't make it anywhere. She won't become anybody. I won't have to deal with the consequences of this action.
April was finally able to come out and tell her story in 2014 when Faye Grant, the soon-to-be ex-wife of Stephen Collins, released a recording from a therapy session wherein he admitted what he did to her amongst two other people. During this time, Stephen is blowing up. He's getting more and more movies, but around 1994, he wants to take a little venture into something different. He wants to be an author. Eye Contact by Stephen Collins came out in 1994, and it is a spicy novel about a woman who is dealing with compulsions, which, oddly enough, later when he discusses his own behavior, refers to himself as having compulsions, which is a way that they like to twist that language. Like, keep in mind they call them young women instead of children, that sort of thing, right?
Framing this as if he's an expert on it, but how? Nobody was Googling anything in the 90s. How'd you find out?
Yeah.
What'd you read? What'd you look up? You're telling me that you know. How do you know?
One of the first instances in the book is oddly reminiscent of what he was doing with April. She exposed it to a child, right? Then it goes on and it talks about control, and a lot of it just mirrors a lot of the things that have been said about him. Not to mention, he goes on years later to write another book. And this book is about a girl who came to visit her sister at an apartment complex where he lived. Before the book, though, he stars in a 1996 movie called, yeah, it's really called that, with Kerry Russell.
There's a scene with Kerry Russell lying in a bed with Stephen slowly undressing her.
You get the gist. I'm not going further into that. And then 1998, he brings out his second book.
And then in 1998, Stephen put out another novel.
So I wrote about a person who moves into a new apartment and discovers that his kitchen window looks into the kitchen window of a very attractive woman. And then he discovers it's actually a sister to that woman.
You can't tell me that there's not parallels from what happened to me specifically that's not on the page in one of the novels that he's written. It worried me because he's got power and it is getting bigger and is getting better known.
The novel is called Double Exposure, which, if you didn't notice, we skipped ahead a little bit. It was released in 1998. However, if you rewind a little bit, Seventh Heaven was kind of thought of in 1995, and they started filming and airing in 1996, which means that this was written and released when he was already on TV, being sold as America's Dad, the most wholesome guy ever, and I know what you think I'm going to say is like, oh, they didn't practice their due diligence. So here's the thing about that. They didn't, absolutely. However, due diligence is typically practiced by people who, for whatever reason, care about other people getting hurt, even if that's for insurance purposes, whatever. But yeah, there was no due diligence. They don't care. That's for people who care. Enter the WB, Warner Brothers Network, the brainchild of the same people who founded the Fox network, where you would find amazing television shows like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, because in every generation there is a chosen one. However, that's not a thing anymore because all the Slayers got activated. And Charmed, which brought us the power of 3. There's technically 4, but there's been beef. It's a whole thing. Anyway, continuing. The WB wants to be more towards family program because they consider Charmed a family program, which I can see that a lot more than they say Buffy. Well, there was a family. Yes, they had the Scooby Gang and everything, but like past season 4, I don't know if I would say like family oriented, like, hey, Spike at the mezzanine and that whole situation. That was a dark season.
Great thing about this show, it can teach a lot, but it doesn't preach.
Yes, it was an Aaron Spelling production, and I also want to ask old Aaron, which I know we can't ask him, but did he actually watch the show? Because there's actually quite a bit of that P word in there, in my opinion, and they acted like the smallest things were like, blah, blah, blah. But that is where I leave you today, and we will go more into that tomorrow. I hope you have a good one, and thank you for being here.